Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So we've got a really weird situation unfolding right now. And when I say weird, I mean this is something that kind of came out of nowhere. Like, we didn't hear anything about this beforehand. There were no real reports, no buildup, nothing. And from everything we've seen up to this point, she's been practicing, she's been around, everything looked normal. Now again, I'm not going to sit here and say for a fact that everything is fine and they're just hiding her, because we don't know that. But what we do know is this. Justine Pissott is currently out for the Indiana Fever versus Dallas. And that's where things start to get a little bit confusing. Because this is one of those situations where you're kind of sitting there like, okay, something doesn't add up. This feels off. This feels like one of those scenarios where there's more going on behind the scenes than what we're being told publicly. And here's why. Stephanie White was asked about players that were dealing with injuries. Straight up question. And she mentioned multiple players. She listed them out at the end of practice. But nowhere in that answer did she mention Justine Pissott. Not once. So now you're sitting there thinking, wait a second. If she's out and the coach is being asked directly about injuries, how does her name not come up? That's where it becomes a little bit of a red flag. Because very clearly, when Stephanie White answered that question, she framed it as, we're holding players out for precaution. That was the tone. That was the message. Now, here's the thing. The hope, believe it or not, the hope is that Justine Pissott is actually hurt. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but think about it. Because if she's not hurt, and they are holding Justine Pissott out purely for precaution, that is a really, really bad look for the Indiana Fever. Like, genuinely bad. Because at that point, what you're doing is you're essentially holding her out of what is, for her, the biggest moment of her professional career so far. You can call it preseason all you want. You can say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just preseason. But that's not reality for someone in her position. When you're on a developmental contract, preseason is everything. It is your Super Bowl. It is your Game 7. It is your one real opportunity to prove that you belong on a full roster. Because the financial difference between making a roster and staying on a developmental deal is massive. And I mean massive. We're not talking about a small gap here. This is career-defining money. This is the difference between stability and uncertainty. And when you factor in the Indiana Fever specifically, it becomes even more serious, because this is not just any team. The Indiana Fever are probably the least favorable situation in the entire league when it comes to developmental players. And I don't say that lightly. They are the one team that has basically made it clear they are not calling up developmental players. That's not part of their system right now. So if you're in that position, your only real shot to make the roster is to force their hand. You have to play so well that they don't have a choice. Now let's talk about what we actually saw. You go back to that preseason game, the Fever are running their third stringers late in the game, going up against the third stringers from the Liberty. And what happens? Justine Pissott comes in and she hits 2 3-pointers in a row, back to back. Clean, confident, no hesitation. And immediately after that, she's pulled. Right away. Now you tell me, does that make sense? Because to me, it doesn't. If a player is hot, especially in preseason, you usually let them ride that out. You let them build momentum. You let them show what they can do. But instead, she hits 2 threes and she's gone. So now the question becomes, why? And the answer that a lot of people are starting to come to is simple. The Fever might be trying to hide her. Because think about the alternative. If she stays in that game and goes 4 for 4 from 3, now you've got a problem. Now you're forced into a decision. Do you let her go and risk another team picking her up immediately? Or do you sign her and commit a roster spot? That's not a situation they necessarily want to be in right now. So instead, she goes 2 for 2, and that's it. And now we're here with her not playing, not being mentioned in injury updates, and not being seen in training camp footage. And that's where things get even more concerning, because people have been looking, trying to find her in clips and photos and anything from practice, and she's just not there. Now, that could mean one of two things. Either she's legitimately dealing with an injury, or they're keeping her completely out of the spotlight.
And again, based on everything we're seeing, it's starting to look more like she might actually be hurt, which on a human level is tough because these next couple of games, these are everything for her. These are her Super Bowls. These are the games that could determine whether she makes a roster or not. And missing those, that's brutal. But from the Indiana Fever's perspective, this might actually be the outcome they prefer. And I know that sounds harsh, but from a front office standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Because let's be real, the Indiana Fever clearly see something in Justine Pissott. They want her long term. There's no question about that. They see the upside, they see the potential, they see what she could become. But they don't necessarily need her right now. So their ideal scenario is simple. Keep her on a developmental deal this year, don't expose her too much, don't let other teams get a full look at her, and then bring her in officially next year on a rookie scale contract. Because if she goes this entire year without playing, her rookie deal doesn't start yet, which means they get 4 full years of control starting next season. That's basically a redshirt year. And in professional sports, that is incredibly valuable. You're essentially getting an extra year of development without burning a year of the contract. That's the dream scenario for a team. So when you look at it through that lens, everything starts to make a lot more sense. Now again, that doesn't mean they're rooting for her to be hurt. Nobody wants that. But if it's something minor, if it's a 7 to 10 day situation, something small, something manageable, then yeah, from a strategic standpoint, it works in their favor. Because now other teams are less likely to take a chance. They're going to shift their focus to players who are available, who are playing, who are visible. And Justine Pissott kind of stays under the radar. And that's exactly where the Fever want her. So yeah, overall, this is not a great situation for Justine Pissott personally, but for the Indiana Fever, this might be exactly what they were hoping for. Anyway, that's the video. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I just lost all focus. Stop it.
You ready for this? You ready for this? How you doing? Good to meet you. How you doing? Oh, this is crazy. This is cool. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? I'm jumping on.
So good. Everybody,
hey guys.
say hello.
Wait. I got.
Hey.
That's right. There you go.
Come back anytime.
See you guys.
See you, Blake.